Hello everyone, you are watching Critique Quest, which is me. I realised that I haven't filmed a more kind of conversational video since my old channel, so I thought I would, in the wake of reaching well over 3,000 subscribers, almost 4,000, which is insane, and thank you to everyone and anyone who has subscribed. In this video I thought I'd share a list of the games I couldn't stop playing in 2017, just to get reacquainted with any of you old-timers who have been watching me for a long time, and get to know those of you who don't know me quite as well. Smooth. Quick disclaimer, these games didn't all release in 2017. They're just the games I played in 2017 multiple times through. If I don't mention it, I either haven't played it or I haven't played enough of it to warrant adding it to the list. And some of these games I have actually spoken about in some capacity before, so I'll link the videos on screen or in the description box below if you're interested in seeing, more in-depth thoughts on those. First up is Little Nightmares. I really love this game, barring the pure, unfiltered tension that are the stealth sequences. The game feel, though, is just really nice, from the character animation to the sort of dreamy kind of fluidity of the motion controls, the not quite claymation vibe I get from the art style, all just feel really nice to play. I like it too because it's this sort of small self-contained experience comparable to flash fiction, I guess, in literature, where you only play it for a couple of hours but you do so much within that time frame, whether it's engaging your imagination or finding things to collect, statues to smash and gnomes to hug. And despite the fact that it's literally a nightmare, I mean, on occasion it can be quite scary, I still found myself and find myself coming back to it again and again. Now all I really need to do is play the DLC, which I will get around to eventually. Next up is Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Why more people aren't talking about this game is just completely beyond me. I originally reviewed this on my old channel, but I recently bought the remaster Dark Arisen on the PS4, which is technically a port of the Dark Arisen remaster package with all the DLC last generation. I think this game is just... okay, the visuals are kind of milky and a little bland, but it's the closest thing spiritually to a Berserk game that you will get, besides maybe a Berserk game or Dark Souls. The pawn system, in which you hire pawns from the Rift, an online server, to help you fight in battle, is just perfect. The combat pits you against mythological heavyweights like chimeras, hydras, griffins, harpies, golems, is that how you say it? Well, you name it, they pit you against it. Which is as exciting as it sounds, not to mention the combat feels really good, and so do the party mechanics, which are quite unique really when you think about it. And the role-playing elements have so much depth, not in a confusing way, but once you really get into it, I mean, you can spend hours just waist deep in roleplay, which is great and what you want from a game like this. Dragon's Dogma is fun and one of a kind. Play it, please. If you take one thing away from this list, let it be that. Play Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen and Nier Automata. So play Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen and Nier Automata. Which leads me to Nier Automata. I feel like this one won't come as much of a surprise to those of you who are familiar with my content. I spent an inordinate amount of time reviewing this game, and I can't really say too much else here that I haven't already said in that video. The game's a bit silly, and yet it's one of the most impressive games I've played, period. This game, much like Nier, Gestalt, or Replicant, depending on which hemisphere you hail from, is challenging in a myriad of ways, most of which are significant, which sounds like a bit of an over-exaggeration, but I assure you it's not. When it's not experimenting with different concepts and philosophical ideas, it's testing what a game is, what it should be. And that's the kind of game I think this medium deserves. As I said before, play this game, and remember, if you do, don't stop at the end of your first playthrough. This is part of the reason why I played it so many times last year, is because the game practically requires it. Next up is Resident Evil 7. This game made me feel like I was playing a survival horror game on my PlayStation 2 in all the right ways. It's not this sprawling, time-consuming thing that requires you to hand over your life for the next few months should you want to complete it. Resi 7's horror is much more intimate, I think, than we've seen in quite a while, and even though the locations are quite small, they're utilised and designed in such a way that it's really thrilling to navigate. I liked it so much that I completed the game several times just because. I wasn't trophy farming, I wasn't looking for collectibles or secrets, I just enjoyed the game so much that by the end all I wanted to do was go right back to the beginning and start all over again. And I also want to mention that although some DLC content just kind of makes me roll my eyes a bit, all the DLC for Resident Evil 7 adds a lot of texture, not just to the story or not just to the play, but overall. Then we have Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Technically, I am always playing this game and will likely continue until the day I die. For those of you who don't know, Persona 4 Dancing All Night is a spin-off rhythm game with a whole new storyline and also an arcade mode, the latter of which I spend most of my time playing. I just can't stop myself from going through the stage sequences again and again and again. I do this for two reasons. The remixes of the already brilliant soundtrack are just fantastic to listen to, like A Dream Come True. Now I Know, the Yu Miyake remix, and Backside of the TV dual mix are some of my favourites. And two, it's just really fun. You can unlock outfits and buy accessories from Tanaka's commodities store, and when you do incredibly well, it's just nice to see your favourite characters dance together. Oh god, I sound really, really corny. Nice one, Nanako-chan! So if you really love Persona 4, if you really love the Persona 4 soundtrack, Dancing All Night will give you an excuse just to listen to the tracks over and over and over again. And also, if you can't dance like me, it makes you feel like you can through arguably more coordinated avatars. I have to mention The Evil Within. To say I hated the game when it first released would be an over-exaggeration, but I definitely didn't get along with it. The letterboxing, though a nifty idea, was just too limiting because the camera was stuck so close to Sebastian's back. Some of the mechanics felt kind of fuddled and contrarian to me. To say I was happy to put the game down and forget about it forever would be an understatement, but then the trailer for The Evil Within 2 released, and I thought I'd better go back and play the first game again, just in case anything carried over. And I enjoyed it a lot more the second time around. I mean, the letterboxing was gone, which definitely helped, but bosses were great, level designs were great, DLC was great. Personally, I think my negative experience with the game the first time around was affected in part by my expectation. Words like true survival horror were being bandied about, and that made me think of Silent Hill 2 or My Beloved Siren, because that's what survival horror means to me. By contrast, The Evil Within was more like a trippy Resident Evil 4, and its focus on weaponry and sort of gore-based horror was a disappointment to me. Somewhat ironically, when I was playing The Evil Within 2, the sequel, I spent a lot of my time wishing we were back in Beacon. I found it a lot more interesting when that game was being referenced. So, irony in perspective, it's a thing. And since we're being honest here, Hakuoki Kyoto wins. I know, it's a romance visual novel, although I would argue that it's only technically about 20% romance and 80% visual novel. You can even turn the romance options off. I feel like I'm having to explain myself and make excuses here. I actually really liked this game as both a visual novel and a romance sim because it really takes its time with the story, which is based on real historical events. By the way, I love how some Japanese games do this. Why don't we do this more? The game takes its time as well with the romances in-game, and that just builds really solid foundations with each of the pairings in-game. And it's just really nice to see a romance sim want to grow these dynamics in a much more mature way, not just with your romanceable option, but with the cast in its entirety, rather than just narratively fast track to all the juicy bits at every opportunity. There appeared to be many different versions and ports of this game. Kyoto Wins, the version I played on Vita, is actually part 1 of 2. I guess the original game was very, very long. Clearly the splitting of this story works to the game's benefit, not just in reference to the length, but it does make you feel like you're taking more time building these sort of early blocks of all these relationship dynamics. And it also ends on a promise of things to come, which I really enjoyed. It wasn't unlike Mass Effect 1's ending in that respect. I don't know if I'll be buying Edo Blossoms, it's quite expensive, although it is coming out this year. But what I will say is that Kyoto Wins sort of works as a standalone story as well. Honourable mentions go to White Day, A Labyrinth Named School, and The Legend of Zelda, The Breath of the Wild, both of which I played a lot of and enjoyed them greatly, but didn't have a chance to finish either. I do plan on making a video on White Day, so what I will say is that it's a horror game which lands somewhere in between Whispering Corridors, the movie, and Obscure, the Xbox game, which is just a great combination. And Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, and many others I'm sure, truly has redefined exploration. All the praise it's been getting, for all the reasons you've no doubt heard already, is well deserved. I actually did a short video on it. I posted it on Facebook, so if you would like to see that, by all means check it out. I posted it there instead of YouTube to escape the all-seeing eye of Nintendo. I think it's a healthy fear. So those were the games I couldn't stop playing last year. It's not exactly a 2017 Games of the Year list, but I thought it might be fun to talk about so you can get to know me a little bit better. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave your own pics in the comment section below. You can follow me on Facebook or Twitter, the links to which will be in the description. And I will see you all either on Saturday, Twitch, I will be streaming another game, or next week, Thursday, for another video.